My name is Dom Douglas, and I am back-to-back XWW Commentator of the Year. With that comes some responsibilities, but also a lot of fun and excitement, and I'm never ashamed to look like a complete fool. Speaking of that, I love playing Magic the Gathering, so much so that I kind of think I play it a little bit too much, and I have some opinions. So now, ExtremeTVOnline.com and XWW Wrestling on YouTube presents my podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering. It's the Goblin Grenade Podcast.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Goblin Grenade Podcast. My name is Dom Douglas, the back-to-back Commentator of the Year for XWW, and you may be wondering, that's right, we're on a new channel, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit more attuned to what we do here at Goblin Grenade. Love XWW, but we felt that it was perfect for the new launch of this channel as well. Now, that being said, this is not the introductory episode to the Goblin Grenade Podcast, but if this is the first time that you've ever seen me talk about Goblin Grenade Podcast, well, don't get used to this angle. This is only for this week as I fix a few things up. But also, this is a Magic the Gathering podcast. It's a solo one-man podcast where I talk about Magic the Gathering, video game stuff every now and again, which is going to be today's subject as well, and some nerd stuff. I mean, if I want to talk about comic books, which I barely do, I will. Most of the time, it is Magic the Gathering, Diablo 4, Path of Exile, more than likely, maybe Call of Duty when that drops, because I do have the Game Pass. But that being said, this week is Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred expansion, and a little bit of Magic the Gathering. I needed to take last week off. If you're part of the XWW YouTube channel as well, I do this weekly, and I needed to cool my jets. I had to warn the management of XWW that this particular podcast, I have two versions of it, the one with the beeps and one without the beeps. And let's just say profanities were abound, and I was like, all right, I need to cool my jets, lay back for a week or so, and just recollect. In short, Commander is changing. Wizards of the Coast controls the format now when it comes to bannings and whatnot. The RC is still part of the consulting team for it. They're going to do a bracket style system instead of the power level of 0 to 9 or 10, and everyone says it's a 7. That was last week's. Do not watch it. I kind of don't like it. I was very angry. My points are valid on it, but it was a very 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was a very tumultuous time, and the format I love playing the most in Magic the Gathering is Commander and Draft or Limited. I love sealed events. I love draft events. I've been playing Magic the Gathering almost since its beginning, on and off. There was a good 12-year break after I graduated high school because the player base around me disappeared, where we all kind of did our adult things and, went to college and whatnot. Sadly, sold the collection. Regret it to this day. And have gotten back into it about 8 to 9 years ago when I moved to North Carolina. And right after my hip replacement, which happened about 5 years ago, I got super into Commander because I watched game nights because I was bedridden for 6 to 8 weeks. And it was closer to 8 weeks that I was bedridden, and all I could do was just kind of vegetate and watch, and I watched game nights, and I watched every single game nights in that time on the couch, on the bed actually, and fell in love with the Commander format. And I own, at this moment, almost 30 Commander decks, and I recently this year had pared down 8 of them, and now I'm back up to 30. So that is it. They're also on this channel as well, because it is this channel. It's the comic related and the comic and card game related channel now, that I get to do some cool things. I'm going to do some pre-release stuff. I'm going to throw an older episode up to when XWW, Cosplay Wrestling Universe, invaded a Comic-Con, and we were the entertainment there, and I kind of got to mess around a little bit and take part in a couple of Magic the Gathering related things. I'm working on that video again because it didn't make sense to put it on the wrestling channel where I was the only thing doing anything non-wrestling related. There's that. I'm also a video gamer. I've been playing video games forever, and case in point, one of my prized possessions when I used to be a retro video game collector is this top loader NES signed by the Game Chasers and 8-Bit Eric. That's right. Way back in the day, I got to meet them in North Carolina at GameSwap. No, not GameSwap. I forgot. It was in Lincolnton. It was probably that store. And I got to them sign a top loader. And the top loader is a cooler story besides the autographs, because I got that for fixing a bunch of one of my friends' Super Nintendo and his wife's at the time games and whatnot, and he paid me with this. And then years later, I got it signed by the Game Chasers and 8-Bit Eric, because when you have the opportunity to have that option happen, you take it. Now, that video game collection doesn't exist anymore. Priorities change in life. And I kept some pieces, but not a lot. Kept some good sentimental memory type of stuff. So we've got that groundwork down. So I've been playing video games forever, it seems, in my entire life. So it's going to go, now that we're 7 minutes in almost to this episode, we're going to talk about Diablo Vessel of Hatred. And, that's a new expansion, new season, Hatred Rising or something like that. I don't know. And what changed in Diablo 4? Well, it's pretty much everything. A couple seasons ago, if you don't know, Diablo 4 has seasons that last 3 months that have a unique mechanic involved in the season. Whether it be like vampires was one season, the previous season was Loot Reborn, where they Loot Reborn 2.0, where they fixed all the in-game equipment and whatnot. This season, however, a little different. I think it was a vast reworking of the entire game, from equipment to skills and abilities. The former cap in the game was level 100. And then, after level 50, you stopped gaining skill points and started gaining Paragon points, which you use to fill your Paragon board, which is endgame content. And the Paragon board is something that increases stats for your character, or gives you special buffs and whatnot. And now the cap is level 60. So you stop gaining levels and skills at level 60. And now there's 300 Paragon levels. And the way they described it was the first 200 levels is easy to obtain. That is your base. After level 200, you definitely have a well-tuned build. That's the final build. The next 100 Paragon levels are going to be harder to come by, and the grind starts, and that is the cherry on top, they say. So that's the first big change. But on top of that, you got 10 extra skill points. They reworked skills for every class, on top of having a new class, the Spiritborn, which is kind of OP, but as of October 15th, when I'm recording this, they are about to drop a nerf to the bug. Yes, it's a bug of Spiritborn being able to have this evade build where they're constantly mashing evade. And they're not supposed to be, because no class is supposed to be breaking the animation, canceling the animation for the evade. So you can just constantly do it and just spread a bunch of things. So everything's been reworked. And so far, I'm Paragon level 215. I noticed the first 60 levels were easy to get to. Next 100 levels were pretty fast. I was like, oh wow, I'm blasting through this. The next, from level 100 to 200, kind of slowed down a little bit. Now at level 200, it is almost as if I hit a brick wall. I'm getting a level every now and again, but I get it. They warned us that this was going to happen. This was going to be the cherry on the last 100 Paragon levels were the cherry on top, and they're right. They also put a cap on Paragon boards, whereas you can have, I think, 6 or 7 before this expansion, or as many as you felt like going into. Now you can only have 5. So you have a little bit more focused builds. So I was wrong on the podcast where it was limiting builds. I see where they're coming from now with the adjustment to 5 Paragon levels. It just makes sense. It's just, you get more focused builds and you get to actually have more pieces of those boards used. So there's that first bit. We'll talk about the Spiritborn in a little bit, the new class. Realm Walkers, I know they fixed that as well today, but I liked the Realm Walkers. You kind of have this mobile boss that you can't hurt for the first few minutes, that you have to weaken by killing enemies that it spawns around it, and then you go into the realm that it produces to get more things, to go into another dungeon to get more potions that help spawn, that help drop rates on certain things, whether it be gold, end boss crafting materials, or end boss summoning materials, or the new runes. What I felt, and I don't know, I haven't played since they fixed it, but it kind of was slow. But the Zakarum offerings, whereas every season has had this one person that you can go to and be like, hey, I killed like 1,000 of these things. What's my reward? And there was tiers of rewards up to 12. And then after your 12th, you're kind of done with that. The last couple of seasons, I've been able to finish those out in a day or two. It's going to take a while to finish these 12 because I've played a lot. All right. This past Sunday, my girlfriend had visited for a week. She left at 5 a.m. on Sunday. I woke up with her, sent her, she did the drive back to New Jersey. I didn't go back to sleep. I played Diablo from 5:30 in the morning to 10:30 at night with a couple breaks here and there. That's how good this season is. Like, really on point. I've not marathoned I haven't marathoned Diablo since day one. I haven't marathoned Diablo 4 that way since the first day. And that's just a testament to how wrong I kind of was on my last on the podcast where I talked about the Vessel of Hatred. And it is phenomenally done with all the things that you can do. Now, the Realm Walkers, as I was just saying, the Zakarum offerings are slow to get. I think slower than getting level 300. I may be Paragon level 300 before I get my Zakarum level up to max. So it's a little wonky, but I get why. This season's not ending till January, and I've already completed the season journey. I've already completed my season pass. Because the Diablo does have season passes. And I bought the the Ultimate Expansion Edition because it came with 4,000 platinum, which is the in-game currency of the game, and a free season pass. And I don't buy cosmetics in this game at all. Some of them look great. I ain't buying them. I will buy the season pass. And what I've done for the last year was I bought the first season pass because it came with the game, because I got the Ultimate Edition. And you get about 700 to 800 in-game currency by the end of it. So every 2 seasons, I would drop $5 in on Diablo 4, get $5 worth of in-game currency, and then use that to kind of do the next season or two. Now, with Vessel of Hatred Ultimate Collector's Edition, or whatever the hell they called it, I'm able now to have 4 season passes. But within them 4 season passes, okay, I'm going to earn about 700 in-game currency. Season pass goes for 1,000. So I got 4,000 in-game currency for getting the Ultimate Edition. So that's 4 season passes right there. Then, in those seasons, you'll gain 700 in-game currency. So I was kind of doing the quick math. I don't have to put another penny into Diablo 4 for about 2 years. Because each season lasts about 3 to 4 months. And they drop about 4 or 5 seasons, 4 seasons in a year on average. So yeah, by the time I'm done those 4 seasons with those 4,000 platinum, I've earned 2,800 platinum, which is going to float me for the next 2 seasons, which is going to float me for another 2 seasons. So I'm good for the next 8 seasons without putting a single penny in a Diablo 4. And then on top of that, there's the new class, the Spiritborn. Spiritborn is definitely broken, definitely OP, but, it's a day one thing. And even with the PTR, some people, Blizzard didn't fix a few things, especially that evade shenanigans that have been going on. And I get why the Spiritborn is kind of OP. It's the reason to play the expansion besides the story. And it's a really good, fun class to play. Very, very quick, very agile, very monk-like in Diablo 3. And that's what they kind of said they took some inspiration from, the monk class in Diablo 3. So, I like playing it. I'm at Paragon level 215. I've done everything you can do in the game. I haven't killed Uber Lilith because I was able to one-shot Uber Lilith, but Uber Lilith has mechanics that have to happen. So you can do every single point of damage to Uber Lilith in one shot, but she still has to do the 3 mechanics with no health. It doesn't make sense. Make it make sense to me. If we get a class that just one-shots a boss, but it has extra mechanics, please don't make me do the extra mechanics. I've already done everything I could. The boss will die as long as I survive the mechanics, and I suck at surviving the Lilith mechanics. So there's that. There's the expansion itself. The story, no spoilers here. Play it for yourself. It's halfway decent. It's a continuation of Diablo 4, but it's also a continuation of the Diablo 4's main story, but it also leads to a continuation of future stories, which is big. Blizzard has already said that Diablo 4 is going to have multiple expansions, maybe once a year, which is rare for the most part. Every Diablo game, 1, 2, and 3, have had one expansion done by Blizzard. Diablo 2, I think, had 2 that were done by Blizzard, and then Diablo 1 had 1 that was done by Blizzard, but 1 that was not done by Blizzard. Hellfire, Diablo 1 was not done by Blizzard. That was an outside company that did that. Diablo 2 had 2 expansions, and Diablo 3 only had 1. But there's going to be multiple expansions. This game is probably going to last for like 10 years. It'll be supported with expansions and seasons. Well, seasons, it'll go on forever, but expansions, at least, I'm predicting 10 years. And that's probably something that they've said and I forgot. That's just kind of in my brain. The story is weak. There's definitely a few characters that are underutilized that could have been really awesome stories, that they just had enough for the beginning and the end, but nothing in the middle for the story arc of certain characters. They focused more of their story on Eru and Narelle, who you're trying to save. She's one of your helpers in Diablo 4 main story that takes the gem holding the big bad guy in it and kind of is trying to find a way by herself to figure out how to get rid of it. What happens though, they had the story beats for that, but the outside stories that coincide with it don't make any sense to me. One of the Burned Knights captain, their leader, I don't know their name because they're so infrequently mentioned, but that story should have been really awesome. That person's story should have meant something more than just a throwaway mission. That's just me, though. The new realm, Nahatu, is amazing. It is fantastically beautiful. It is a joy to look at. I wish you could go in there more, but the way Diablo works, 4 works, after the story, you do all the exploration, unless something's bringing you to there, you're not going there. Which is sad, because the Undercity is where you're going, but that's like its own separate side missions, its own separate side dungeons. And that has a unique mechanic, because once again, it's another dungeon, but it's timed. You have to defeat certain enemies to increase your time, while also filling a meter up to basically get the best results. And then you beat the end boss at the end of it, and then everything is fine. The Undercity is kind of fun to run. Where was I? Yeah, the Undercity's great. It's a callback to Diablo 2, and I liked it. The mercenary mechanic is something well represented in this. You can have, once you complete the storyline, you have the option of 4 mercenaries. One is your main mercenary, and the other is a backup. Think Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, where you can have like assists, or Marvel Capcom 2, where you can have assists. And this mercenary will come in when certain conditions are met. And you could set those conditions, like when you do a main attack every 5 seconds, your mercenary is going to come in and buff something or hit something hard. Your main mercenary will always be there, attacking with you, casting buffs, casting debuffs. Interplay between the three is your mercenary and the backup are great. What happens though, also you can level your mercenaries up to get rewards. And at the end, when you max out all the rewards, you get pale coins, I think they're called. And you can trade them in at the new mercenary town that kind of is the hub for your mercenaries, where you choose which mercenary you want or which backup mercenary you want, level them up. But you can also get new weapons, better weapons, or it's just what I've done is just get all the crafting materials that they offer and just spend my pale coins on the crafting mats and whatnot. So there's a bunch of stuff in this expansion. Realm Walkers are great. Total overhaul of the game. Certain things that I don't like is the new tempering system, because you can get weapons and you can make them better by doing this thing called tempering, adding more affixes or whatnot to the weapon, adding new powers to the weapon or whatnot. I don't like how you have to roll for them. The quote unquote bricking a weapon or item is still persistent and has happened to me a couple of times, even though they offer now a scroll to remove all the tempers so you can do it again. Blizzard, let us just choose. I will gladly have another mat or use existing materials to get what I want. Like, it's a pain in the butt to get a god roll item for the first 3 stats, and then when you try to temper them, you just get the wrong stats that you're trying to get. Stats that you don't need. So now you either have to wait or acquire one of these retempering scrolls, or just you have a bricked item. And then masterworking, I think the old way was terrible now. The old way was going into the pit, and every time you completed the pit, you got certain level. The first 30 levels was obfuscate. The next 30 levels was like netherline, and then the last one was like the ultimate that I never got around to. And the first 4 levels took obfuscate. The next 4 levels of masterworking took the second tier, and then the last 4 levels took the third tier. No more of that. You just get obfuscate, and it'll use existing materials as well. I love that. I have now been able to masterwork everything to like at least masterwork level 8 out of 12. The caveat to that: your item has to be ancient legendary to be at masterworking level 12. And if it's not, you can only get up to 8. This is not really well explained. I think the update that drops today will do a better job of explaining it. But if you get like a legendary item and it doesn't have the ancestral, where one of the 3 stats on it is boosted with that special star on it, like where it's increased, you can only do it to a max of 8. This also goes for uniques. Learned that a little bit the hard way. On top of, gonna be doing a rogue soon, especially now after the Spiritborn evade nerf is about to happen. So what you could do was cancel out the evade, and you're not supposed to do that. You can just constantly mash buttons. People were actually using macros on PC or their scroll wheel up to do the evade because you could just infinitely evade. They explained it, and I see why it was done. It was actually causing server issues because everybody and their mother was playing Spiritborn and evading rapidly, causing massive server issues. I've experienced this for the first time in Diablo 4's history. The server, since like the first day of launch, the servers were garbage to the point that I actually had my game freeze a couple times. I've had it crash out. I've had it freeze. I've had me kicked out of the game for not being connected to the internet, even though I was, because Spiritborn evade builds were ruining everything. And I noticed it was more happening in Infernal Hordes and also on Realm Walkers. So anytime there was a lot of chaos going on the screen, it was really doing some damage to the servers, which made doing Helltide Blood Maiden so hard to do because everybody's playing Spiritborn because it's the new hotness and it's got the new broken ability, even though there's 2 other builds, not Spiritborn, that are even more broken. I am on Torment level 4. We'll get to that in a second. The highest difficulty in the game, and I'm seeing, I think, a druid class, a specific build, one-shotting the Blood Maidens. It is ridiculous when you see it happen. Now, the other thing that they changed, I know this is, get used to this when it comes to an unscripted version where I'm just shooting off the cuff, where there's no plan in front of me. I'm busy editing a show, and I have to get this done today. Sorry. They do get better, folks. Trust me. They revamped the difficulty. There was world tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 was beginner. 2 was where everybody was at. 3 was just long. You stayed long enough just to get to world tier 4. And then world tier 4 was endgame stuff. Now it's different. There's normal, hard, expert, penitent, and then torments 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can go all the way up to expert until you get to the Artificer's Pit, which is now how you level up glyphs. And once you get to Artificer's Pit level 20, when you complete that, then you can unlock Torment 1. And then I think it's 30 Artificer's Pit to level 35 is Torment 2. Artificer's Pit to level 50 is Torment 3, and then Artificer's Pit to level 65 is Torment 4. I already got the Torment 4. Thank you, Spiritborn Evade, while you lasted in that broken way. But Artificer's Pit used to be how you got your masterworking material. No longer. Artificer's Pit is now how you level your glyphs in your Paragon board. Glyphs offer more buffs to your character, more damage, more health, more special craziness that you can do. And you used to do them via nightmare dungeons, and it was a pain in the butt. You had to level them up, and you completed certain nightmare dungeons and got a certain amount of XP to do a certain amount of things. It was a pain in the butt. Now, with Artificer's Pit, say you go into Pit level 20, and you have a glyph level 1. You complete the pit, and now you get 4 chances to level up that gem. But if the pit that you completed is 20 levels higher than the gem, you will rank it up twice for each chance to level it up. Guaranteed. Twice the first time. Every time it's supposed to be you level it up once and you get percentages on how you can level the higher your glyph is and the level of pit that you completed. But from what I've noticed, I didn't have any problem getting my glyphs up to level 46, which is the max radius level. Anything other than that is like bonus material, so to speak. The old way was terrible. And I thought this way was going to be terrible because it reminded me of leveling up legendary gems in Diablo 3, which was also a pain in the butt. But no, I actually enjoy the new glyph leveling mechanic. Diablo 4 has done a successful job at making me ramble for about a half hour incoherently. Once again, these do get better when I get them scripted, when I at least have a plot line, patch notes, if you will, for the podcast. And it's done a wonderful job at fixing a lot of the issues that were happening in the game and also making it a completely different experience. This is not Diablo 4 Day 1 anymore. This is Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred 2.0 completely. They've redone almost everything where it's a completely unrecognizable game from just a few months ago. Oof. That was 30 minutes or so of me talking, and thank you for listening here. My name is Dom Douglas, the back-to-back commentator of the year for XWW. Next week's podcast is going to be about Magic the Gathering. Trust me, I have to figure out a subject, or it'll be a deck tech, if you will, for Standard. It'll be a deck tech, if you will, for Standard. And on that note, the Goblin Grenade podcast, episode 30-something on the new YouTube channel is done and over with, and may your top deck always be mythic. Let me take that again. I can't give you a crappy snap like that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Goblin Grenade podcast, the first episode done on the new YouTube channel. Thank you for listening, and may your top deck always be mythic.